Welcome to Beyond the Board, where we break bread with some of the most interesting industry leaders. I'm Melissa Vesho, Senior Vice President at Whole Foods Market, and I'm honored to host in-depth conversations with some of the most innovative and impactful leaders in the food industry. Today, we welcome Sarela Herrada, co-founder and co-CEO of SIMPLi. This food company focuses on sustainability and ethically sourcing ingredients directly from farmers across the globe. I was fortunate enough to take a trip to Peru earlier this year with Sarela and see firsthand all of the incredible work this company is doing. So Sarela, thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, you and I had the opportunity to spend some time together in Peru earlier this year, and it's such a magical place. I was really moved by the warmth of the people, the cultural traditions, the deliciousness of the food, and the care for the planet in Pachamama. So knowing that Peru is a special place for you, I would love to hear, when you get to Peru, what are some of the things that are on your must-do list?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely a very incredible and magical trip and magical place for us to go. When I go to Peru, the first thing I have to do is just embrace myself with all the food that I'm about to eat.
So
Peru is in a way, the food cuisine has evolved with the history of the country, starting with indigenous roots of your starchiness of potatoes and corn and cheese. And then when colonization came, all the Mediterranean flavors through Spain came in, and it just evolved the cuisine. And then the African-American culture also came in through the slavery in the colonization era. And then Japanese culture came after World War II. And Chinese cultures also came in. So it just has created this food cuisine that it melts different flavors. And the number one restaurant in the world is in Lima now, which is Maido by Chef Micha. And when I go there, the first thing I do is just embrace myself days before of all the food that I'm going to have. But second, as you mentioned, it's truly a magical place. And I didn't realize until later on in my life, as having living the majority of my life now in the US, and also have traveled and seen so many cultures and so many places. I'm very fortunate to do that, how unique Peru is. It holds 66% of the country is covered in rainforest. So we hold the Amazon, which is the lungs of the world, and that brings a lot of biodiversity to our food and also the people and the culture. And then you have the Andes, which is the home of Machu Picchu and the Inca Empire. And you have the beautiful Pacific coast that holds on the left side of the country. So it's just a magical place with so much biodiversity from its food, its people, its culture, but also the topography and geography of the country.
What a truly special place when you think about everything that melds together in Peru. It's really incredible. And it was such a gift to be able to share that experience with you. So building off of that, the name SIMPLi reflects the mission of simplifying complex food systems and everything, all of that melding together. So can you talk us through how you came up with the name for SIMPLi?
When Matt, which is my husband and co-founder, we started SIMPLi back in January 2020. Yeah. And we just wanted to do something that is quite simple at its core, but as you go through execution, it becomes very complex. And we just wanted to bring forward the best ingredients where food has been grown for thousands of years, going back to my roots, those Inca and indigenous knowledge of food, and food that is nutrient dense, single origin, and better for you at scale. So to do that, we're like, okay, well, this is something that to resonate to the consumers is quite simple. So the name SIMPLi just came just really uniquely to the company, but then we wanted to make it unique to ourselves. So we changed the last letter to an I to really connect to ingredients, the ingredients that we're going to be putting on the table for people to enjoy and connect through the joy of food, the integrity of how we're going to go about it, the innovation. This food has grown for thousands of years, yet there's a lot of innovation that can be done in the categories and the products that we source, and we work with farmers. So we wanted to make it unique to us and with a little bit of a spin-off.
Wow, so many questions based on that. So first, you mentioned working with your husband. What's it like to be co-CEOs with your husband?
Yeah, it definitely has been a journey. When we started, it took us about 6 months in 2020 to just really understand how we think. And we at that time, it's been 5 years now, we thought very differently of how we approach a problem. So I would say back then I'm an engineer. By trade, I'm an operator, I'm a supply chain person. So I'm very process oriented. And I have definitely evolved now. And Matt was very results oriented. So just even working with someone side by side with a different way of solving things, that was really interesting. But it makes it more interesting when it's your husband and your partner on having, transitioning to having those conversations. And I remember back then, even when you were talking to early angel investors and talking about SIMPLi, we were a bit scared to mention that we weren't married back then, that we were, boyfriend and girlfriend, that we were dating, because it could be a strength, but it could also be a threat to a new business. Now, 5 years on the road, we're married with 2 kids, another one on the way.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. And it has only strengthened who we are and how that comes through the business.
Incredible. You've also mentioned you started in 2020, which is a pretty dynamic time to start a business. So can you share some of the challenges that you encountered starting in 2020?
Yeah. And looking back now, I think those challenges, when people say, how do you get a long supply chains that you built on 2020 when you had the port issues and the complexity now with tariffs, that's the normal for us. So we don't know anything but that of how to do business in these scenarios. But back then in 2020, I come from the food industry. I come from the restaurant world. I was with Cava, which is a fast casual Mediterranean, before I started SIMPLi. And it was, the opportunity that we saw first was bringing these ingredients that are nutrient dense, single origin, where they have grown for a very long time, at scale for restaurant industry. That was the market that we were going to go to market first. So, we took our life savings. Matt and I were like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to build these really exciting supply chains with what we have in the bank and max out our credit cards and bring that inventory into the U.S. We had Sweet Green was one of our first accounts, Little Beat based in New York, and Be Good based in Boston. So we brought inventory from Peru. Remember, we went to the farms. We had about 120 farmers. We collected small patches of quinoa. We put it in a truck, brought it to Lima, processed it, exported, imported. Yes, it got into the U.S. March 2020, and everyone was really excited. We're going to be launching, and then all the restaurants closed.
Yes.
And we're like, okay, well, we just have all our money on 2 containers sitting in warehouses and nowhere to be sold. So
I got chills. What a terrifying moment.
It really was. It really was. But I think that in order to be an entrepreneur, you see that and you look at it. Okay, what is the opportunity? People still have to eat. And the channel might just not be restaurants now, but people still have to have access to food. And people were connecting with food differently. And I think that it gave us a time to slow down and connect with food at home and cook these meals and learn how to do sourdough and learn how to do, rainbow bagels and all these really fun things. So let's bring those ingredients to home. And that's where the meal kit companies really started to grow. The Blue Aprons, Daily Harvest of the world, and then retail, right? The shelves were just empty during that time. So we just had to adjust and say, how do we take that product now and find our customer through a different channel?
And taking a step back, what prompted you to make the move from being on the restaurant and the fast casual side into starting your own business?
Yeah, what I saw was that you had this wave in the restaurant world where now we see it you go down the street in New York City and you see 20 of these concepts. But back then, it wasn't like that. You didn't have the Sweet Greens and the Cavas and the Jazz Salads or even True Food Kitchens of the world. They were new. The fast casual concept and movement was really new. And when you're sourcing food that is better for you at that scale, there weren't that many suppliers that were doing that. And if they were, it was brands doing it for their own brand, maybe for a CPG position on the retail side, but not for the restaurant world. And I think the restaurant world is just, sometimes is what's left over, and let's get the volume in and cook with that. So how do we prioritize not only fine dining, but these better for you fast casual concepts with a company that can provide you those ingredients at scale and do it well. So that's where we saw the opportunity at first. But now looking back, really what we were trying to solve, it wasn't for a specific audience. It was really for all the customers to find us in different channels.
And part of this model that you've tried to cultivate is this idea of a transparent table. Can you talk a little bit about what that model is and what it means to you?
Yes. So a transparent table is just really connecting the customer to where the food comes from. And I think what's fascinating to me is that the customer wants better food. The customer wants transparency. They want to have the best ingredients with the best nutrient profile for themselves that is going to fuel and nourish themselves, but also their families and their loved ones. And the farmer wants just that. They want to grow food that is going to be nourishing the environment, the soil, that they feel proud what they're growing, and they can really connect to that consumer. Yet the food system of the U.S. today prioritizes foods with chemicals and foods that are being processed. So what went wrong? What happened? And it's really those middlemen in between that connect the raw ingredients that come in to the consumer, right? And they're the ones that are transforming or creating a marketing messaging or different positioning to the customer but at the end of the day, the customer wants the same thing that the farmer wants. So how do we connect that? And how can Simply be able to facilitate those conversations and just keep it very simple and very clear and very transparent? You're buying this quinoa from Peru that's been grown for thousands of years, or you extra virgin olive oil from Spain or Greece that has been grown in these beautiful olive groves for thousands of years, these beans that are native to the Americas. And it's a simple message, yet our food story has gotten so complicated that you're like, can it be that simple?
I mean, that's such a beautiful thing, that connection back to the farmer, the place, the taste and the quality inherent in that. And just the connection to it is very emotional as well. Can you talk a little bit about how you formed those relationships with the farming communities?
Yeah, you went to visit a few farms with me and the Simply team recently. So you saw firsthand how fulfilling and special those relationships can be. And I think that feeling is, we try our best to communicate that to our customers, but sometimes you just have to experience that. And it doesn't have to be in Peru, or it doesn't have to be in the Mediterranean. Just go to your local farmer and talk to them and connect with them, because I think that you can really feel the passion and the love the farmers have to the soil and the work that we do. And it's a really, really hard work. It has definitely taken us a deep understanding of how we can connect with farmers, and not only for the work we do, but at a business level. So internally at Simply, we have our framework that is called the Regenerative Pathway Program that allow us to really understand the farmer, where they're at on their farming journey, what they do. And if they're aligned with a set of values that Simply has, then we like to work with them to develop their farming practices to a regenerative organic ecosystem and state, and being able to work with us not only to grow incredible foods, but also grow their farming as a business. And farming is, for us at Simply, is having really healthy soils so you can grow the best food that is going to nourish you and your loved ones, is being able to take care of what else is around your farming, which is the people and the animals that are there, and the social fairness aspect. So really taking farming into a business so people can really be paid fairly and scale farming in a way that is sustainable and not just extracting.
Yes. And how did you find the farmers that share your mission?
Yeah. Well, at first it was us finding them. I think now it has evolved into a combination of that, but then also just word of mouth of people just sharing and coming to us. Because at first it's like, oh, okay, that's really exciting. That's what I want to do. And that sounds great. Yeah. But are you really going to execute? That's cute that you want to do that. But let me see if you're really going to do it. And after a trip, I went back to Peru a month after, and I visited another community. And I didn't know this at that time, a couple of years ago, but he mentioned that his farm was in serious debt when we started working with the bank because he had another client that never paid their bills. So he was as a co-op, they were really scared because they didn't have any cash flow coming. So when we came in with SIMPLi, we really provided them cash on their business, and they were little by little being able to pay their debt, and now they're debt free. He was like, Israel, you have no idea how much pressure we were under when you came in. And now we have this even stronger relationship because of the impact and the business structure we're able to provide. But scouting farmers, it was really understanding where's the item that we want to bring to market, where is it grown for a long time. So you just go to the region. We go to the region. So start with quinoa. We went to Puno, outskirts of Lake Titicaca, where quinoa has grown for thousands of years. And there is we just start asking, okay, quinoa has grown here. The local municipalities or the local colleges, who are the people that could really help us here? And then we found at that time was Mario, who now is part of the SIMPLi team, and he was able to really help us. He's a local farmer and agronomist to that region where people really value his input, and he was able to rally farmers to work with SIMPLi. Similarly, when we went to Greece, Peruvian, Matt is from Annapolis, Maryland, and we go to Greece and we just started asking, okay, we did our due diligence. Gigante beans have grown in Castoria, right in the border of North Macedonia in Greece for thousands of years. Let's go and let's see who is growing this. And we were able to meet with Trifon, who's a farmer there, and he was like, okay, well, everyone knows each other. It's part of the land and it's part of the culture that these crops have grown in these areas for a long time. So there's a lot of local knowledge. And then once you start working with one farmer and you really follow through what you're offering, then you're able to grow from there.
One of the things that really struck me in seeing some of those farms firsthand with you is some of these practices are talked about as if they're new. But that connection back to culture, to generations upon generations of farmers who have been caring for the land, is something that has existed. So can you talk about like how you've helped kind of cultivate those practices and make the connection between the power of the future of agriculture while respecting the cultural traditions?
Yeah, I think they have helped us being able to navigate how we communicate that to the consumer. So we have learned so much from them on the work they've been doing for so long and how that is really going to be fueling our messaging or our products and learning how do we support the best ecosystems that Gigante beans in Greece should be grown in. So Gigante beans rotates with chickpeas, with lentils, and with tomatoes. So like, okay, well, have you been growing those crops? No, because Gigante beans is the only thing that sells. So we're like, okay, well, let's get chickpeas into the menu, into SIMPLi to start selling beans. Same thing with the quinoa. Quinoa rotates with potato and lupini beans. So then we started a bean portfolio at SIMPLi. Beans are really great for the environment, for the soil. Every farmer knows that. Brings nitrogen back into the soil. And beans are great for us. It's just a huge powerhouse of fiber and protein. And beans are having a huge moment. I love beans.
Me too.
And our beans are incredible. They're super buttery and super soft. And so we started to learn from the farmers, how can their soil and how can these ingredients be better if we support everything that is being grown there. And then just listen, with Trifon, when we were in Greece, he took us into his mom's kitchen. His mom just made this incredible feast of food for us with all different types of food. Similarly, when we were in Peru, we shared potatoes and corn and cheese with the farmers and being able to
I still think about those meals. Oh, so good. And I think part of what made it so good was not only like the quality, but the care that's put into cultivating the soil and to harvesting. And like you could just taste the care that goes into
And I think the care is because you care to the soil not as a tool, but as a part of your family in a way, part of who you are. Because there's so much respect in all the farms that we work with. There is such a deep understanding that this is what gives me, and I have to give back to it.
Yeah.
And different cultures, name it different ways. In Peru and Inca culture, we name it the Pachamama, which was a goddess. Inca, quinoa itself, the mother of all seeds, that was part of Inca traditional ceremonies as well, where the Inca would open a ceremony and use a golden tool to put the first seeds of the harvest. So there is so much more than just, this is a piece of land that I'm going to grow some crops and then I'm going to sell it, and then it's part of my income. There's deep understanding into how this is part of who I am and how I have to respect it.
Yes. So then getting back to how you bring that to customers, one of the things that SIMPLi has done an incredible job on is really looking at the supply chain and shortening the supply chain. Tell us a little bit about how you did that and how that ultimately makes that connection then between the farming communities and that care to what the customer buys in a SIMPLi package on a shelf.
Yeah. SIMPLi was definitely a product first and a brand second, as we have been growing as a company. And half of our team, our operations team. Mm-hmm. So we're super heavy on really working directly with the farmers, doing as many steps as we can in between, and being able to bring that product to market to our customers because of the trust and the gold standard that SIMPLi is and stands for. On average, there's about 6 middlemen that touch a product when you're doing global trade, or even in the U.S. It's quite segregated. So what we try to do is we just try to consolidate as much as we can for a few reasons. One, it gives us full autonomy and ownership of the crop, so we know the traceability, where it's coming from. There's not going to be any fraudulent activity to that. And it empowers that gold standard and that trust that our consumers have with SIMPLi. Clean ingredients, no glyphosates, no heavy metals, no pesticides. Our lab testing is hundreds of different things that sometimes we don't even share fully with our customer, but we know that we're doing that due diligence. And we know that our product can be tested in any way, shape, or form, what's on the shelf today, and it will stand because we do that internally. Mm-hmm. Second, by being able to have consolidate as many points as we can, it allows us to also cut on margin, so we can pay our farmers that fair price model that we had, but then also being able, as we scale, to be accessible to our customers. We believe that the food system in the U.S., as I mentioned, is processed foods with preservatives, and we see at the shelf today what is being paid. We see that as the cost that is coming out of our pocket, but we don't think about the value of the product that it has. And SIMPLi can be a little bit higher than your conventional product, but on the long term, it provides more value to you. It's a nutrient-dense product that fuels you and is going to give you, longer performance, or it's going to give you more fiber or more protein than the other products into the market. So it allows us to have better cost structure as a business, pay our farmers fairly, and being able to provide that authenticity to our product, to our consumers.
And based on all of that diligence that you do, as well as how you're thinking about all of the stakeholders involved in bringing that product to market, how do you hope that shapes the future of the food system more broadly?
Yes, and I think we've talked about this as well during our trip. And there's so many brands that I admire that have done, the organic movement 20 years ago that started, and have done all this educational and work so brands like SIMPLi can really run and thrive. Mm-hmm. There's so many brands out there that are just doing incredible work. Dr. Bronner's being one of them. They certainly taught us that you can do it at scale and you can do it well. Mm-hmm. That they're definitely a brand that lives with their values, and we're very fortunate to have them as friends. But at SIMPLi, I think what we want to do and we want to leave behind is that you can work in products like grains, beans, and oils, which people might think, they're your everyday products, your pantry staples. They are the silent hero of every healthy plate. Mm-hmm. You probably eat them every single day, but not think of where they come from. You might think more of your produce and your meats, but these products are fueling you every single day. And can a brand like SIMPLi do this in an equitable way for the planet, for the producers, and for the people at scale. That is where I want to make sure that we build a business model that can really scale for generations to come. And if the demand is there, and we're seeing that already because we can't build supply chains fast enough, is that the consumer wants this. And going back to the simplicity of the message, and the farmer wants this. So why are we the bottleneck? Let's get that through.
That's amazing. Help me understand, why is this important to you personally? Like, why do you care so much about doing this work?
Yeah, that's a good question. My why has absolutely evolved in the last 5 years of doing this. It really started with my love for Mother Earth and the planet. And me and my husband, we love to hike. Now, with 2 kids and one on the way, we don't hike as much and connect to nature as much. But we loved just losing ourselves and immersing ourselves to what this beautiful world is. So it really started with preserving planet Earth and being able to have these beautiful parks and Amazons and cultures and people and rituals, and being able to honor that and making sure that there's a space in this world for that. The idea of SIMPLi came from a backpacking trip on that Lake Titicaca that Matt and I had. We were dating, so I was like, you have to come to South America. I have to see what you're all about. And we started in Brazil. He got sunburned. Then we went to Argentina. He got food poisoned. And then he came to Bolivia, and then he got altitude sick. And they were like, okay, man, this poor guy. But he survived.
He stuck with it.
He stuck with it. 11 years, still going through it. And on that trip in Lake Titicaca, we know that we're entrepreneurs at heart. We talked about it in our first date, but during that time, we knew that how incredible the farming around the islands were, and they were growing quinoa. And we knew that the market in the U.S. was loving this product, but there was no social development. So you had here in the shelves, you had a product that it was really resonating with the customer, but no impact to where it was coming from. And quinoa at that time was already in the market for 20 years. So what happened? What was the disconnect here? So that's where the idea, okay, there's something here. Let's really dig in deeper. And we were on that island, the island of Sun, Isla del Sol, in the Bolivia side. And we just love that, of how do you connect so deeply with people and break bread with people that don't speak the same language, and just connect through the joy of food. Now, 5 years down the road, I am a mom of 2, and I'm expecting my 3rd. And having kids, it just gives you perspective. It completely changed my perspective and outlook in life. I didn't realize before being a mom the responsibility and the journey of what a mom is. You're a mom, so I know that you resonate with this. And it's much more important to me than ever. And my passion is even more in front of it, of building food systems that are going to last, that are not extractive, and that are giving back. And that you're putting food on the table with a soul, with integrity, because empty calories they don't feed you. Food with authenticity does. So we really have to change the food system here in the U.S. that is going to do that, not only for my kids, but for the future generations that are coming, for the ones that might not have, access to those clean ingredients. How do we create that access for them?
Yes, everything you're saying resonates with me so deeply. One of the things I love about food is that it is the ultimate connector. It's how you demonstrate love. It's how you bring people together. It's also how you connect with farming communities around the world, as well as shaping the food system and driving that positive change from the inside out, so that what we're handing off to future generations is in a better place than we found it, from a nourishment standpoint, both for people as well as for the planet. I also really love that your team shares that passion, as does mine. So how have you infused this passion that you're describing into the culture that you've built within the team at SIMPLi?
Yeah. And every employee at SIMPLi is deeply connected with the mission of the work that we do, which is a true testament of what SIMPLi is and what we're building. So I'm just so honored to be working with a very talented group of people that just deeply care about the mission. As you go through your everyday, is sometimes challenging to be able to think and stop by that whoever is dealing with the import and export of containers or the quality labeling or a sales pitch, how do you connect that to the impact that this company and what we're really trying to change? So we've been trying to involve a few initiatives that I think are working well and really resonating. So one is we share what our customers are saying about us internally and how you connect. When you hear testimonials of customers connecting with your product, I get really emotional and I get really excited. You know, I just can't believe that something that we have built is connecting so many people in so many different places, and people are taking time of their busy day to just letting us know how happy they are that they're able to find a fully gluten-free product for their kids, or something that doesn't have heavy metals, or someone mentioned that they use our beans for seeds. So now they have a farm that with SIMPLi seeds, because our products are heirloom seeds. So you can do that here in the US. Take a bag of SIMPLi quinoa or beans and grow your own farm.
I love that.
So I love that. It's really amazing to hear those testimonials from them. And then the second thing, we've also, so that's on the customer side, but then what is the impact we're doing on the farmer? So our team internally is called Regenerative Operations. They're the ones that work with the farm directly. We do the same thing. So we share a lot of testimonials of how we're changing their everyday pictures and the work that they do.
Which is such a powerful way to remind your team members of the impact that they're having, even when they can't be on the farm.
That's right.
Every day. You know, one other thing that we haven't touched on is the design of your brand. I mean, everything that you just described is so impactful and so beautiful. I also think the design of your brand is really beautiful. Do you want to share the insight behind how your brand was designed?
Yes, absolutely. I think that now I'm in the retail world, and you as a retail expert, I wish I knew this. Packaging is everything in retail. It's everything. It's everything. And I think we just got really fortunate that our design of our packaging is so naturally beautiful, and it was inspired by the simplicity of how these foods are connected. So SIMPLi has this iconic sewing on top. If you see a SIMPLi bag, is a craft brown bag with the front, it tells you what the product is. But the sewing on the top, it just makes it a very unique way of sealing that product. And that came inspired from the fields. Because if you go to any field anywhere in the world that is doing grains or beans or olives, you're going to see that they put it on these bags and they sew it.
Yes.
They sew it right in the
I've
field.
seen it.
So we're like, okay, well, can we create a version of that it's small? And we did. And that's how we went to market. We certainly, throughout the years, we learned that we needed to change a few things, but we're so happy with what is on the shelf because it just resonates so deeply to the work we do. But then on the consumer side, it's also a plastic-free product. It's a compostable product. It's something that you don't see on grains and beans and just really connects deeply to the story of where our food comes from.
Gosh, at every step, I love the thoughtful intention by which you've connected the end product and what a customer receives all the way back with the farmer. So it's so beautiful. Before we get into a lightning round of questions to wrap up, was there anything we didn't touch on you want to make sure we cover?
No, I think we're covering it all. I'm just so thankful to have this conversation with you, Alyssa. I admire you so much as a leader in the industry and as a mom and all the work you do.
Thank you. I mean, right back at you. I think about the experience that we had in Peru as such a gift to be able to see the work firsthand. It fundamentally has shifted my perspective and helped me realize what's possible when we work collaboratively together to shape the food system.
Oh, that's really special.
Okay, so quick lightning round. So you mentioned the early days of the pandemic. What did you cook most during those early days?
Yeah, that's when we were exploring our packaging into retail. So we had a lot of quinoa, and there's an inside joke in our car. If you still go in it, you're always going to find little seeds of quinoa because we just had quinoa everywhere because we were just trying different packaging and trying different things. So we cooked a lot of quinoa and we would just put like scoops on soups, scoops on salads, and anything that, or like a stew, anything. We just had a big bowl of white quinoa because that's the only product we had back then in our fridge. And then we would just eat it every single day in different meals. So yes, it was a pandemic COVID experience full with a lot of wine and a lot of quinoa.
Okay. And what Peruvian dish should we all be enjoying I have a hypothesis of what you're going to say.
Of course, it has to be ceviche.
I will never forget the meal we shared in Lima. That's ceviche. I dream about it regularly. Okay. Complete this sentence. People would be shocked to know that quinoa
is not a grain, but a seed.
Ah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay.
That's why people maybe be using it for their seeding and their farming.
Gosh, that's amazing. All right. The next place you want to travel.
Japan. I was there for a layover for 12 hours. And I was able to get out of the airport really quick and explore the food cuisine in Tokyo. And it's just incredible. So I cannot wait to go back and explore.
That's on my short list too. All right. What is non-negotiable for you each day?
Spending time with my kids. If I'm in town, I try in the mornings, at night, put them to bed. It's a non-negotiable to be able to spend time with them, intentional timing with them.
Yeah. So what is your biggest advice for balancing? I mean, obviously you're running a company, you've been building a business, you're in business school, and you're a very engaged mom. What's your biggest piece of advice to balance that?
Yeah, don't do it. No, I'm kidding. It's just really understanding the things that don't create value. Can you have a system mechanism, outsource it, a village that's going to be able to support that with you? So really looking into all the things that you do that maybe not bring joy to you, or that you can look into ways to find it more efficient. You don't realize how much time you take on, I don't know, little things like, cleaning the house and organizing your drawers, which I do because I love and brings me joy. But so
Me
maybe
too.
that's another great.
I thought I was the only one. Me too.
It brings me joy. Another good example. But there's little tasks that you do that you might not be the better fit. So really understanding that, so you can be more intentional, because we only have 24 hours a day. And I believe sleep is my secret weapon. You have to sleep in order to be a high proficient human. And so what are the things that you can outsource?
Mm-hmm. And what keeps you motivated?
Honestly, my kids. I see, as I was walking in, I got a video of them and Valentina showing where her eyes, mouth, nose, and elbows and shoulders are. And gosh, they are learning and seeing their world through their eyes. It's just such a privilege. And I am so, so happy that I am able to be their moms, and so honored that I'm able to be their moms and teach them what this world can be. And I'm a positive at heart. So I do believe that this world is beautiful. And even with everything happening right now, currently here in the US, we can be the change for the things that we want to do. And we can be loud and we can break things and we can create things. And it's not about just sitting and just taking what's coming. So if I'm able to really create that change for them and for them to be proud of what the work that Matt and I are doing, I think that will be very happy.
Yeah, it's touching. For founders who are 5 years behind where you are right now, what would you tell them?
Well, that's a good question. I say this to my team all the time, just stay curious and stay resilient. What you might be working on right now might not take you to where you would like to be. So stay curious, stay open, ask a lot of questions, be kind, talk to people. People are so, so kind. LinkedIn, send those messages. You will be surprised who will be able to reach out. We had Walter Robb is one of those people when we started that we sent a cold email out of nowhere, and he responded, and he was being able to give us advice since then in a very kind way. He has so much going on. Seth Goldman, another person that, we reached out of nowhere, and he became an early investor of SIMPLi. So you never know who is going to be really passionate about what you do. So stay curious, ask a lot of questions, and be resilient, because a lot is going to be thrown your way.
Yeah, the power of community. That is something I love about this natural industry, is just how much people care and are willing to help. And both Walter and Seth, huge industry advocates. That's incredible. All right, last question. What's next for SIMPLi?
Lots of exciting things. First, we have a lineup of products that we'll be launching with Whole Foods this fall. So we're very, very excited about those products. Is only going to be increasing and growing our presence on the bean portfolio. That beans are just so good for you and nutrient dense, and they can easily be the center of the plate. So we're huge advocates for beans to be the hero of those plates. Same thing with our grains and same thing with our oils. So we're very excited to continue to grow that. What I'm most excited personally about those products is that is the first time we're building US based supply chains from our international footprint. And I haven't worked with US farmers since my time at Cava. So being able to hear their stories, their struggles, and just a reminder of how similar we are globally as people. Gosh, it's like, farming can be different ecosystems and rainforest and agroforestry and perennial crops or rotational crops. But the people and what people are going through and the struggles and what they want to do are quite similar. Yeah. So understanding that and the impact that Simpli can have here domestically has been really exciting. So I'm very excited to bring those products to market.
Do you have a favorite of the new products?
It's a good question. Gosh, that's a really tough question. I love two. So I'm going to say two. I love our regenerative organic certified Spanish olive oil that is coming to market. Yeah. It's going to be not only the first that is regenerative organic certified, but it's the community. It's called Habitat. It's in the high-end Granada area of Spain. And talk about just deep connection and where things have been, what farmers been doing for thousands of years. That is a prime example of that. It goes just as deep as the Inca Empire or the Greek Empire. So it's just fascinating to learn from them. And then second is our lentils. I'm very, very excited about our black lentils.
I love lentils. Yeah.
Yeah. They're just beautiful. As they call it, the black caviar or lentil. So they're just beautiful products. So I just can't wait to get them on the shelf.
Me too. Well, Sarela, this conversation was such a joy. Thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your story, for bringing my team and I to see it firsthand. The work that you all are doing is incredible and is having a tangible impact on shaping the future of the food system. So I really appreciate the conversation we had today.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me here as well.
Of course. And thank you for tuning in to Beyond the Board, where we highlight the people and the products shaping the future of food and wellness. Until next time, let's keep supporting brands like Simpli that are making a positive impact for both people and our planet.